Gothic design, which was like a big thing back then. It would kind of like looks a bit like a castle. And the guy who designed it got the opportunity to do it by winning a contest between a bunch of other international architects. It was designed by John Howells and Raymond Hood. It is home to the Chicago Tribune and CNN's Chicago outlet, so the news network when they go to Chicago, they have the stuff there. The really cool thing about it is that it has a bunch of other really famous buildings from across the world and in Chicago, and they have little pieces of it like built into the sides of the walls there. They have stuff from the Berlin Wall, the Taj Mahal, the Great Wall of China, and it even has like Chicago buildings, like they took pieces from Wrigley Field and the old Comiskey Park and put them in there.
They only put the 4th in front of it because they realized that no other church was using the letter, the number 4. And then they decided to finish building, and it finished building on the same day that the Great Chicago Fire happened. So what they built, like that Sunday, it just went to pieces because of the fire. And they decided that they wasn't gonna build it no more. So after the Great Chicago Fire destroyed it, it was just there. So it was just open space. But after 40 years, they decided to build another building on Pine Street, also known as North Michigan Avenue today. And they hired a new architect named Ralph Adams Crown to create the Gothic theme. It's kind of real Gothic there, dark and weird. And he was working on a church, a Catholic church in New York that was never built. So while he was juggling to build this church over and build the New York church over, the only one that survived was the Fourth Presbyterian Church.
The building was named for John Hancock Mutual Life Insurance Company, the developer and original tenant of the building. The cost of the building is $100 million. John Hancock Center. The John Hancock Center is currently the 4th tallest building in Chicago and the 8th tallest in the United States. Inside the building, there's offices, restaurants, as well as about 700 condominiums.
The John Hancock building has a square foot area of 2,799,973 square feet. It has 50 elevators, and the main contractor is Tishman Construction Company. The skyscraper's distinctive X-ray shows of the systems. The skin is part of the tubular system, and the tubular system is the type of structure that keeps us up during really rainy or like earthquakes, helping people up.
Alright, right behind us is the Intercontinental Hotel. It was, the architect that built it was Walter Oshlinger, built in 1929. Originally, it was the Medina Athletic Club that was organized and ran by the Shriners Club. Unfortunately, during the Great Depression, it closed down. And that was in 1934.
In 1988, Intercontinental Hotels bought the property and brought it back to life. The hotel stands 42 stories high, and it took 12 years and $250 million to restore and transform the entire building.
Just beyond these bronze doors is the original engraving of the Shriners' welcome. It says Assalamu Alaikum, which means peace be to God. And in the lobby is featured this giant grand staircase that incorporates bronze pieces from the original Medina Club. This merges the past and the present together.
So redesigning and configuring all the new rooms actually became quite a challenge because they lost the original floor plans and blueprints of the original design. So therefore there are now 175 different room designs within the hotel.
Originally the club for the Medina Athletic Club had a bowling alley, running track, gymnasium, archery range, and golfing range. But the pool is the only thing that survived the renovations.
The pool can be found on the 14th floor of the hotel. The pool is actually the size of an Olympian pool, and today it's commonly referred to as the Johnny Weissmuller Pool, named after the famous Olympic athlete and actor who trained in it.
Below the swimming pool is the grand ballroom. It is known to hold some of the most elegant events in Chicago. It's located on the 7th floor with a balcony on the 8th. there are 37 hand-painted murals on the ceiling. And actually the artist that helped renovate it was one of the artists that held the restoration of the Sistine Chapel.
Grand Ballroom is also home to the largest chandelier in North America at a collected 12,000 pounds. Grand Ballroom holds much detail, and along with those 37 unique murals, the artist also added 24 karat gold leaf to the moldings to create a sense of elegance and great wonder.
So right here is the Wrigley Building. William Wrigley Jr. started scouting locations for his company headquarters. He wanted to make a strong impression. He finally found just a spot on the triangle piece of land at the northwest corner of Michigan Avenue, which is right there. By the time the South Tower reached completion in April 1921, the portion of the property was already entirely rented, which was not surprisingly as the building was the first in Chicago to offer was not air conditioning. In May 1924, the North Tower was added along with connecting walkways at the street and at third floor levels. For more than 90 years, the Wrigley Building has been recognized as a true Chicago original. In 2012, the city of Chicago named it a landmark, a crowning achievement for an iconic building. At the time, the Wrigley Building, or the Wrigley Company, built its headquarters. Other companies still have manufacturing operations close by. To block the sound from its industrial neighbors, the architects installed a glass panel between the Wrigley Building's two towers.
Michigan Avenue Bridge opened in 1920. The structural length is 400 feet and the roadway width is 64 feet.
You said 400 feet?
Yeah. Substructure and superstructure for this bridge was built by the Dredge and Dock Company. There are two parallel bridges that open independently to allow boats to pass through under the bridge. The style of the bridge is raw art, classical decorative style that often takes place in Paris.
Four towers in this bridge each represent something. The southwest tower represents the 4th Dearborn Massacre on August 18, 1812. 50 U.S. soldiers were killed by the Potawatomi warriors. The southeast tower represents the rebuilding of the Chicago fire in 1871. The northeast tower represents Louis Joliet and Father Jacques Marquette, first non-native European explorers to pass through Chicago in the late 1600s, and the Northwest Tower represents the first non-native settlers, John Baptiste Point de Souley and John Kinsey.
Now, something interesting about the wall is that they stick a lot of things that were very cultural and all that. Like, for example, the number 9, it means good charm or good luck for the Chinese culture. Also, dragons were seen as a mystical creature, that they were very smart, they could be protectors of the humanity, farmers, stuff like that. The colors that the dragons are painted are red, gold, and blue. This is because, just like the number 9, which it has a lot of power, this color symbolizes good luck and good charm. One thing about the wall is that it has a lot of small dragons, but they don't represent as powerful as the 9 main dragons that are represented. One thing about the wall is that they have waves on the bottom of the wall. These waves represent that in the Chinese culture, dragons were believed that they used to live in mountains or in the ocean. So the waves represent the ocean. That would be it. Thank you.
Chinatown Gate, which was completed in 1975. It is a 2 retail commercial center. The heart of the square includes the Pan-Asian Cultural Center, ringed by 12 bronze zodiac figures. Framing each end of the square are imposing bronze gates depicting the 4 greatest Chinese inventions. Designed by Peter Fyung, it is marked Chinatown's revival in the 1970s after decades of losing population. Chicago's Chinatown is the 2nd largest Chinatown in the U.S.
The Chinese inscription on the gate declaring the world is for all. Though smaller in size compared to the NY Chinatown, Chicago holds the title for the 2nd largest due to the fact that the number of people actually living in Chinatown is higher.
Chicago seeks interprets the experience of Chinese immigrants to the American Midwest. It opened in 2005 by the Chinese Museum Foundation. The Chinese American Museum is located in the heart of Chinatown. It suffered a damaging fire in 2008 and reopened in 2010. The Chinese American Museum of Chicago is the only museum of Chinese immigrants' history in the Midwest.
Chinatown Square is a two-story mall containing restaurants, bakes, and stores. Before the square was created, the land was a large railroad, but in 1993, Harvey Wees and Associates created the square in order to add more land to Chicago. Inside the square, there are 12 Chinese zodiac signs. Most people know the Greek zodiac signs, but unlike the Greek, each sign represents a year. For example, 1998 is the tiger, which means you're emotional, courageous, and intense. And if you're born in 1999, is the rabbit. You're popular, compassionate, and sincere. No one is sure when the zodiac signs originated, but as early as 475 BC, they appeared on artifacts on Chinese history. Legend states animals fought over which position they were in the calendar, so the gods created a race across the river. The order of completion of the animals. The order of animals reflect the completion of the race. The rat coming in first and the pig in last.
Just north of Chinatown Square is the Peng Tam Memorial Park. The square is home to various festivals such as Chinese New Year and the Autumn Moon Festival. Janet Shen, who was a landscape architect, included a number of ginkgo trees to add to the Chinese flair of the courtyard. The trees have since been removed. The most recent expansion to the mall was in 2007 when they removed the bankrupt Oriental food store. To this day, Chinatown is still booming with a large amount of tourists and regulars who come for the delicious food and